Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about astrology, how I got into it, what it's all about, but most of all, how I got into Vedic astrology and the difference between Vedic astrology and Western astrology. So I am talking all things astrological. So first things first, I have been an astrologer for approximately around 45 years. And I got into it at a very early age. And no, I'm not talking about when I first became interested in it, which was as a child. And it goes way back to the whole event of when Kennedy came to Dallas, and the night before he came, an astrologer psychic came on TV and begged him not to go. She said he would be assassinated. I actually saw this the day before he came to Dallas. And of course, we know the unthinkable happened. And I always wondered how she knew. And could it have been possibly averted if he followed her instructions? No one really knows the answer to that for sure, but it always interested me. And by the time I went to college, I found a teacher outside of the college curriculum, of course, and I learned astrology. And back then, it was in the 70s, and I learned Western astrology, not knowing there was even a different astrology, which was Indian astrology. It wasn't actually called Vedic back then. The word Vedic got coined later by the fact that astrology, some of its oldest reference points are in the Vedas. It talks about the nakshatras, which are so much a part of Vedic astrology. So my roots go way back, and I started doing astrology back before computers. I calculated them all mathematically by hand. We had to have certain books called ephemeris. We had to have the star charts. We had to have the timetables of time zones and, daylight savings time, which cities had it, wartime. All of this we had to take into account. And I mean this when I say astrology is a science. And there has been so much misinformation, misrepresentation of astrology throughout the years that it is really, it's disheartening, because when you truly do astrology, and I'm going to go over this with you, what it really takes to do a birth chart, because I see all these videos out there. It's like, what sign must you avoid in marriage? What sign will lie to you? You can't go by a sign. That's insulting to think that your whole life is determined by the month you're born and the sign during that month. Every year is different. Every time of the day is different. It's all about timing, but it is all about the planets and the stars. And so going back, I wanted to be able to make the most accurate, powerful predictions for people. And not only that, basically my whole really thing about astrology is I wanted to help people, because I believe that this is the tool that you can help people the very most with, even more than psychology, even more than any of the sciences. This is a science that can truly help not only give us guidance, help us in our darkest times, but tell us what our purpose is, what we're here for, and our spirituality. Think of how important that is. My God, that's everything that we're all searching for. Astrology gives us answers. So in my search, I studied many different astrologies. I'm not kidding you. I didn't just study Western. I studied Uranian astrology, which is actually a German system, and it used things such as the trans-Neptunian planets, which, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't even know what they are, but there was like 8 or 9 trans-Neptunian planets. It's been a while since I've done that. But one thing that I thought was very useful from Uranian astrology is it taught you how to use the 90-degree dial. And in this 90-degree dial, it condensed the 360-degree zodiac or dial into 90 degrees. And what that did was it really showed you the importance of certain aspects, such as the squares, the conjunctions, the oppositions. Those really came into play and made their importance there. But I found it was a good system for prediction, but it was like finding a needle in a haystack. It was so convoluted. You were dealing with planetary pictures and combinations. It was too much. So I went into studying asteroids. I went into studying solar charts in terms of heliocentric astrology, the sun as the center. I studied all Hellenistic astrology, you name it. I went down the road to find the answers that I was seeking. And let me tell you what I'm really seeking in astrology: the spiritual truth of why we're here. Don't you think that's important? My God, people live their lives without even thinking of this. Yes, many people turn to religion to find faith and belief and solace and security in all of the problems and difficulties and ups and downs of life. And it helps a lot of people. But astrology really combines the spirituality, because astrology is not just about it's non-religious. It takes into effect that the planets, the universe, they all have meaning, and they're all connected to the divine. This is a powerful tool for self-realization. So as in my search to find the best system, and when I was doing Western astrology, yes, it worked fine, because for the most part, you look at the transiting planets, where the planets are in the sky relative to where they are when you were born. So your birth chart is a freeze frame of where the planets were on your day, your year, your month, your time of birth, and your place. It fine-tunes everything exactly. And once you have that birth chart, then when you put the planets where they're moving in the sky into the birth chart, and they're moving, they're transiting, they will come across, conjunct your natal planets, oppose them. Events will occur when these aspects or transits occur. It works. And another thing about being an astrologer, for as long as I've been an astrologer, I have lived through these transits. In other words, I'm not just reading things out of a book. Oh, Saturn transit the sun means this. I've lived it. I know what it means. I know what it feels like, because I remember when Saturn transited my sun, what it felt like. Now, the other variable that makes it a little bit more complicated is what signs they're in. Another thing that makes it more complex is maybe you're looking at a certain aspect of Saturn crossing over your natal sun, but maybe Jupiter's aspecting it. That will change the energy. So you are looking at so many variables all at once, and you are dissecting it, and you're making it have meaning. And not only do you dissect the planet, what it means. Saturn can be restrictions and endings, bringing things to an end, while the sun can be your spirit. Saturn crossing over your sun will make you tired, exhausted. You got to watch your health, because the sun is your physical being. So you're adding up all these meanings. But to make it even more complex, but to make it more, shall I say, easier to make a prediction, you're going to put all these planets in the 12 houses. So there's this horoscope of 12 houses, and each house stands for a different area of life. And all areas of life will be covered with the 12 houses. And the 12 houses are set up by what time you're born. So you see how specific this can be, because a sign rises across the eastern horizon every 2 hours. So in a 24-hour period, all 12 signs rise, and whatever sign is on the ascendant sets up the whole chart as to what houses all the planets fall in. And if your sun, Saturn, let's say your sun is in the 4th house and Saturn transits over it, well, that could have some issues around your home, or maybe you're moving because the 4th house is your home. The 4th house is your mother. There could be problems with your mother. This is how we make our predictions. But aside from all of that, I'm just giving you the bare minimum basics. This is used in Western astrology as well as in Vedic astrology. You will have the houses, the planets, but the signs shift to a different sign in your Vedic chart. And when we look at these signs, we also, this gets even more convoluted. You start looking at what signs rule each house. Now, when you're looking at your Western chart, you're going to have a different set of planets ruling the houses than you will in your sidereal chart. Sidereal means star. Sidereal is the system used in Vedic astrology. And the reason why the whole zodiac will fall backwards 24 degrees. And here is the big difference between Vedic and Western. And I really like to call it what it is. Vedic uses the sidereal system of calculation, while Western uses the tropical system of calculation. Tropical means it's based on the seasons and the sun. And that doesn't alter. Every single springtime in the northern hemisphere, you'll have the sun in a certain position that makes the flowers bloom, that makes the crops grow. And of course, you know, depending if you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere, it's all based on the sun, right? That never changes. Never changes. You can go 2,000 years back, and the sun on the 21st of March, which kind of marks spring in the northern hemisphere, it happened the same way 2,000 years ago. But sidereal means star, and that's the system you use in Vedic. And what happens with that system is that all the stars have been moving. They're moving, and that's what's called precession of the equinoxes. So in a period of, well, let's just say 2,000 years ago, the tropical and the sidereal zodiacs aligned. They were the same placement, but over time it started getting off, because every 72 years the stars will move backwards in the zodiac. So it will take around 24 to 26,000 years for the entire zodiac, the stars moving backwards, to go through all of the 12 signs. So you know, when we're talking about we're moving into the age of Aquarius, this is what it's about. That the groupings of the stars, the beginning focus point of the zodiac, will be in Aquarius. Whereas Western tropical astrologers, it never changes. It's always 0 Aries. Never does it move. But the stars are moving, and the stars are what constitute the signs. So at this point in time, from 2,000 years ago, the whole zodiac is practically backwards one full sign. A full sign is 30 degrees, and at this point the whole zodiac is thrown backwards in your sidereal chart 24 degrees. So there's 6 degrees left to complete the age of Pisces. So from 2,000 years ago, when the zodiacs lined up and both were 0 Aries, as the stars started to move, they moved backwards and it entered into 29 Pisces, 28 Pisces, 27 Pisces every 72 years. And at this point, it's at 6 degrees of Pisces. This is called the Aya Numsha. The Aya Numsha means that is the difference between the Western and the tropical. The tropical Western and the Sidereal Vedic. So, every 72 years. So, according to that, if we look at going backwards, 6 degrees, 6 degrees times 72 would be about 432 years before we enter into the age of Aquarius. And half the world saying, oh, we're in the age of Aquarius. We're dawning on the age of Aquarius. Yeah, we're dawning. We got about 432 years. This is mathematical and technical. This is not any kind of guess. This is what's going on astronomically. So because the stars are moving, the groupings, they stay what they are. They stay what they are. That is why I say Sidereal Vedic Astrology is true to the stars. And whenever I talk to a Western astrologer about this, they simply change the subject, because this is the true essence, not only talking about the 27 nakshatras, which is the true essence of Vedic Sidereal Astrology. I'm going to talk about that in great detail. It's fascinating, just wait. But what I want to say about this right now, being true to the stars, there are certain stars, fixed stars, that are the most powerful. For example, the 4 royal stars. They were used in navigation by all the navigators in ancient times. But these 4 royal stars also depict the seasons in the northern hemisphere. And each of these stars flavor the signs that they're in. So therefore, talking about Aldebaran, which is the eye of the bull. It's the red eye of the bull. And all of its qualities and meanings really talk about the qualities of Taurus. But because the stars are moving and the Western astrologers don't adjust this, they think this star is in Gemini. How can the eye of the bull be in Gemini? It can't, period. And the other royal star that's powerful is in Leo, and it's Regulus. It is the heart of the lion. Every symbol and meaning for Regulus depicts the sign Leo. And so what you're seeing is these groupings of stars really do depict the signs. They're the ones that give the meanings to the signs. And these portions of stars are actually what the nakshatras are. They're smaller portions, the groupings of stars in the 27 nakshatras are what give the nakshatras their meanings. These stars do. This is true astrology. So Western astrologers say that the heart of the lion, Regulus, is in Virgo. No. Then if you go to Antares, Antares is the heart of the scorpion. Every meaning to Antares, it's the star of war, and it can deal with jealousy. It's everything to do with Scorpio. They say it's in Sagittarius now. No, it cannot be. And even Famulot. Famulot is right in Aquarius. But they're trying to say, I think they think it's in Pisces now. No. All right, so I made my point. These stars are the groupings that reflect the meaning, the true meanings in astrology and the signs. So these are accurate astronomically. This is what astrology is about. And when I talk about each of the portions of the 27 nakshatras, whereas a sign is 30 degrees, the nakshatras are only 13 degrees 20 minutes. There's 27 of them. The moon will stay in a nakshatra one day. And this actually puts together the whole lunar calendar in India. When the moon is full, the nakshatra the moon's in is what the month is named after. And if you think about the relevance of the lunar calendar, it equates to our human body, to the cycle a woman goes through, 27, 28 days. And 13 degrees 20 minutes is the mean motion of the moon per day. Therefore, it stays in one nakshatra per day. Everything aligns beautifully with this system. So going back to how I got into Vedic astrology, I wanted a predictive tool. I wanted something that was spiritually based, that would help me understand my purpose and meaning in this world, why I'm here. And they make so much reference to Rahu and Ketu. Rahu is the north node of the moon, Ketu is the south node of the moon. And these are points in space where the moon actually collides with the path of the sun, called the ecliptic. Going upward is Rahu, going downward is Ketu. They're exactly the same degree opposite. And these points are what cause eclipses. Now in Western astrology, they call Rahu the north node of the moon because it's going upward. In Western astrology, Ketu is the south node of the moon. It's going downward. But they don't make the relevance to these points being as important as they are. They're starting to catch on, but they're catching on because of Vedic astrology, the Sidereal system. And by the way, Vedic, that name was coined because of the Vedas, but it's actually the astrology from India. And here is some of the things. Let me tell you where I stand right now in the astrology world. I have been here my whole life, and I've always been kind of an outcast. Let me explain. In the astrology world. Yes, I've taught at all the most famous conferences in the United States and globally, UAC, ESAR, NCGR. I've taught at all of the conferences, yes, and even put my own on. But most of the conferences, the big conferences, are Western astrology. Therefore, when I go teach, yes, you'd think there'd be a lot of Western astrologers that want to learn this, as I did. But no, they're like wanting to refute it, like, it's wrong. We have the right astrology, yours is wrong. Well, they've never even done Vedic. They don't really, oh, I've had the argument, but they don't use the angles. Yes, we do. We do use the angles, the midhaven, the nadir, the descendant, ascendant. Yes. Yes, it's just that it's shifted. It's true, it's shifted. But here's another argument that I get. Well, really, I don't know anybody that's practiced both astrologies as long as I have and made a choice. I was a practicing professional Western astrologer for over 20 years. Then I found Vedic. I've been doing Vedic for over 25. Okay, so I choose the Vedic. It is more accurate when you're dealing with the planets that rule the houses, based on the fact that you will have different planets ruling the houses because your ascendant and your house cusps, or the houses, will have a different sign on it. Therefore, the planet that rules that sign tells you everything about that house. It didn't work in Western. I kept trying to get it to work, but the transits all worked. Why? Because you're looking at when Saturn transiting Saturn may cross over your sun in your Vedic chart. It's the same day it happens in your Western chart. The difference is they go backwards in the zodiac 24 degrees. So your natal placement is back 24 degrees, but the transiting planets are back 24 degrees too. So the transits hit at the same time. So you experience this transit and you're thinking, this works. But the details of the houses and the cusp, yes, they can even be in the same house, but the planet signs are different, and that gives you a detail that is totally missed with the tropical Western system that makes predictions more accurate. Now here's another thing that blew me away. The dashas. The dashas are the system that is based on your nakshatras, and it really does depict your entire life cycles of when things will happen. It works incredibly. And let me just explain, I might lose you, but wherever your natal moon is in your birth chart, the nakshatra that it's in, all of the 27 nakshatras are ruled by planets, just like the signs are ruled by a planet. So the nakshatras are ruled by a planet. If you have, well, I'll just use my chart. If you have your moon in the nakshatra Purva Falguni, Purva Falguni is ruled by Venus. So wherever your natal moon is, that nakshatra, the planet that rules it, starts your entire life cycles of your life. And these life cycles follow in a sequential order, always. Always after Venus. Well, first there's Ketu, Venus, and then after that comes the Sun, the Moon, the Mars, Rahu, Jupiter, and Saturn, and Mercury. So they're always in this order. So if you were to start in, let's just say, Saturn cycle, then you will have Mercury cycle following, then Ketu, Venus, Sun, Moon, onward. This is the sequential order they always follow in. So this will tell you when everything unfolds, because every time you start a new Mahadasha life cycle, everything in your life will change. Everything. You will move. I mean, it's just like, people are just like, how did you do that? It's already outlined there in the chart. When you go into Rahu's dasha, there's always, well, 9 times out of 10, there's a change of residence. Either if you're young, your parents got divorced, or possibly a sibling was born. A huge event happened that shifted your whole life. And these cycles are long, but there's sub-cycles that cut it up and make it different. These cycles are astounding for prediction. Then you add in the transiting planets. This is how you make your prediction. And without knowing what signs they're actually in, you can't be as predictive as with Vedic. But going back to the whole Vedic system, many people ask or accuse me, let me put it this way. How can a white woman with blue eyes do Vedic astrology? Impossible. And then the Western astrologers are going, Vedic isn't right, and they've never done it or understand it, studied it in detail. Maybe they took a course, but they didn't immerse themselves, trust me. So, as I'm going back to, I stand alone. I don't have the support of the Western astrology, nor do I have the support of the Vedic astrology, because they're looking at me as an outsider, a white girl, a girl for one thing. It used to be mainly all the teachers were men. Then how does this woman, how dare her, think she can steal our science that was meant just for us? Talk about feeling like an outcast, and talk about prejudice. I'm serious. It's serious prejudice. Because let me tell you something. Another reason why I got into Vedic astrology was because I was reading the autobiography of a yogi, and that Paramahansa Yogananda brought Eastern philosophy to the West and created Self-Realization Fellowship, amazing spiritual organization that helps people evolve spiritually, teaches them yoga. And that's another thing. The Indians, some of them believe we can't have yoga. It's theirs, not ours. And look at how yoga's taken off here. Not to mention, I hope astrology takes off as much as yoga. It should. It is a tool for self-betterment and spirituality. and can help us in so many ways, which I'm going to tell you as we continue on with me talking about all this. But let me say this. In India, my partner, Shrikala Ram, we were bound and determined to learn all the details about Nadi astrology. Well, the system of astrology that I practice and teach is called Parashara. There is a Joni astrology. Here's where it all originated. There were the great seers of ancient times that gave us Vedic astrology. And these seers had different schools of thought. The Nadi, the Parashara, the Joni, and they all work. They're just very different. I just feel more comfortable doing Parasharas. It's the more popular one too, by the way. But yes, I do know Joni, and I would love to know more about the Nadi. I know some, but Shri went home to visit her mother, and she says, I'm going to get all the books and information about Nadi so we can really learn it and be able to teach it to all our students. So she goes, and every astrologer she went to said, oh no, we cannot give you any of our secrets. They're entrusted only to our family. And to me, that is terrible. Why? Well, yeah, I can understand if you have a cookbook and you have a restaurant, you got a secret recipe, you don't want everyone else to take away from you. I get that. But this is not food. This is spirituality. And we are humanity, and we're all here to grow and grow together and evolve. With that kind of attitude, there's no way of evolvement. This is hoarding information, like hoarding wealth or riches, being in control. That is not spiritual. And this is the main reason why I went into Vedic astrology. And let me tell you what I discovered, which I really hate saying this. I really do. I've been so disappointed. I have seen so many astrologers so cutthroat, so ambitious, so jealous, so competitive, and downright mean people. And I ask myself, how can they help people if their attitudes are so deep down disheartening but mean? And that's what I believe astrology is for, to help people. With these kind of attitudes, I don't believe they can be really good astrologers. And when you do go to India, the first thing they want to tell you is when you're going to die, and all these horrible things that could happen to you, and set the seed in the back of your mind, oh, I'm going to die at 71, better watch out, I'm 69. You know, this is terrible. And this is not what astrology's for. When I say I want it for prediction, I want to know when things will be difficult so I can prepare mentally and physically. And or when things are going to be good. That's when it's time to move forward, take off. It's like, not only is it like a weather forecast, but it helps you prepare. And some of these things we can't avoid, such as Saturn hitting the sun. You will not go unscathed from that one. Or Saturn hitting the moon, far worse, because that's what we call sati sati, when Saturn comes over the moon. So my point is, I believe we are on the tip of the iceberg with our knowledge and what we can do with astrology. If we come together with cooperation and camaraderie to share knowledge and help it advance to higher levels, which I know it will. This doesn't mean that certain sects of people are going to hoard that information and no Westerner can get it. What kind of humanity is this? What kind of spirituality is this? India is supposed to be known to be one of the most spiritual countries in the world. But I'll tell you something, that caste system that they have is not spiritual. And I hate to say this because I was enamored by India. The beauty, the people, the colors, the food, everything about India, the spirituality, and you know, everything was just so beautiful. But then when you get down and you go to someone's house, I went to a Brahma's house and I thanked the person serving me my tea, and they said, "Oh, no, 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 don't ever talk to them." I thought, that's a human being. I'm not treating them like a dog. But this is their spirituality. And I want to say, India, and my best friends are Indian. Yes, incredible. I'm just talking about some of the people and the history behind all this. This history of hoarding information, this history of doing all the remedies that make you rich and famous, but it's the poorest country in the world. I mean, something needs to change. And I'm not saying I'm the one that can change any of this, but I do know that a white girl with blue eyes can understand Vedic Sidereal astrology. Yes, I didn't grow up with all the myths like you guys did, the Indians. And that's probably why they think I can't understand it. But I do. And not only that, it's really the essence of what the planets mean. It's not necessarily so much all the myth and the symbols, but the feeling, the energy of the planets and the sidereal system. If anything, the sidereal system works so much better. But then again, the Vedic system takes in all of the nakshatras, which are so rich in meaning, and put together the predictive tool of the dashas. So there are so many obscure tools too. The divisional charts, yes, I use, but some of them are like the D60. If you were born 30 seconds wrong, your birth time, this chart's wrong. So many obscure underlying tools, techniques, the Aruda Lagna, the KP system, all these different systems. Let me tell you something. If you practice the basics and you use the basics, you will be the best. There's nothing that can surpass all these obscure systems where, you know what, really and truly, people get into them because they think, oh, I can be a better astrologer than they are because I have this special tool. But no, it's the basics. Let me tell you what the basics are. And I teach all of this in my beginning class, not that I'm doing this for students. I'm doing this to set the record straight that I can do Vedic astrology just like an Indian, and the Western astrologers need to wake up and understand this system works. And it's based on astronomy. The stars are moving. You cannot do what the Western astrologers are doing with the chart. It's incorrect with that. So, and you know what I have found? I have found that the sun sign really does work. Why? Because the whole Western system based on the sun is applicable. So your sun sign in Western is so much personality based, but your sun sign in the Vedic is going to be so much about your spirit, your soul, your purpose. It's so much deeper. But then all the other parts of the chart don't work as well. Trust me, I've tried. I used to do Western and Vedic side by side when I was making the transition, and it came to the point where I just left out was the Western tropical chart. It was unnecessary. It wasn't giving me anything where the Vedic was. So I'm telling you, I'm talking from years and years and years of experience, and the whole system is beautiful, and it is not only for certain people that are superior to others to practice. What is this superiority and specialty that they're better than us? We're all here to learn, we're all here to grow spiritually, and that's it. You can take it into all the other things you want, but it's not the reality and the truth of what humanity and the divine. Think about Paramahansa Yogananda, when his guru, his teacher, Swami Sayutaswar, when I read in the books that he was a Vedic astrologer, I didn't know what Vedic astrology was, or Indian astrology. I had to learn it. And I learned everything that is important in the basics. Yes, I learned all the other advanced techniques. I don't need them. Here's what you need. You need to know everything you can about the houses. Basic number one. The houses are everything to setting up a chart. They give your life meaning. And I mean the deeper meanings of these houses and how all the numbers and everything works together. Such as when I talk about the third house being creativity and talent and communications. But if you go the third from the third, this is all the numerical references and meanings with numbers. And numbers are vibration and energy. But if you go third from the third, fourth, fifth, the fifth house is also the house of creativity and talent. It's just on a broader level. And when you start to understand the meanings of the houses based on numbers and energy, vibration, frequency, you're starting to get real astrology. And the sidereal system puts them in a different sign that works. Then when you understand what each planet's energy is about, then when you understand what the energy of the signs are all about, you add all that together, you're starting to read a person's chart, their life, their personality, who they are. But then you add where the planets are moving, the transits. And then you look at the dashas and the nakshatras all the planets are in. Then you're getting this incredible wealth of information to tell somebody about their entire destiny, their life, where they're headed, where they've been. And the next thing is working with the divisional charts that fine-tune it. Like the Navamsha is the chart of everything divided up into 9. And the number 9 is so powerful. What it does, this chart is called the fruit of the tree. It tells you where we're headed, where we're going in life. It's amazing what you can do with the Navamsha. And then you start to use the dasha ruling planets in the chart, the birth chart, as well as the divisional charts. Then you're really making some powerful predictions. And then not only have you processed the chart from your ascendant, but then you look at your chart from the moon sign, making the moon the first house, reading where all the planets are relative to the moon. It gives a whole nother layer talking about how you truly feel about events and things in your life. And eventually, I mean, you can look at it as the sun as the ascendant. This is actually called the Sudarshan chart, when you look at a chart from all 3 ascendants. And then based on house rulers, you're pulling in the concept of yogas. And yogas are, the main yogas, like a Raja yoga, is when you have the ruler of a triconal house and the ruler of an angular house. When they come together, they create greatness to whatever house they're in. If you have a Raja yoga in your 5th house, you will have kingly, amazing children. The 5th house is children. So this is a tool that isn't really used at all in Western astrology at all. But you're always looking at the house rulers, because when a planet rules a house, it takes the meaning of the house it rules and incorporates it in the house it sits in. Such as if you have the planet that rules your 7th house of marriage in the 12th house of loss, you could have difficult relationships, a partner that's not there for you when you need them. Those kind of scenarios you can start to depict. And when the transits or the dashas come into play for those planets, that's when the issues arise. There is so much to learn in astrology. It's such a divine science. And no, it is not specifically reserved for a certain family caste system or a culture or according to the color of your skin. Talk about prejudice. And then again, I get the same kind of condemnation from Western astrologers. So here I am, standing alone, and all I want to do is understand why we're here, what life's about, our spirituality, our truths, and more than anything, I want to help people. I want to help people through astrology. And that's why I think we have astrology, to give us guidance, direction, to know who we are, to know where we're headed, to help us psychologically deal with things, to know when a hard time's over with. Astrology gives you all of the above and then some. It gives you this deeper essence of who you really, really and truly are. And there is no science out there better than this. So combining the East with the West, this brings together unity and spirituality and humanity. And yes, from the Western system, I'm not letting go of the outer planets. Many of the Sidereal Vedic astrologers don't use them. They absolutely work. They work with generations. They work with the collective unconsciousness, our subconscious mind. They direct the world through prediction. And they are the tool we have for generational change and prediction. And really what does influence the mass consciousness of the people as to where we are in our intellectual mindset and where we're headed. Astrology does all that. What science is more profound than that? When you understand the mythology, the spirituality, the mathematical, the vibration, the energy, the psychology of it, you will understand yourself. And here is the last saying that is a truth. When you know thyself, you know everything in the universe. So with that, I think I'll close. If you would like to get my app will do your entire chart for you, including your dashas, your transits, everything. Go to the App Store. You can download it. It's Galactic Planner. It is the best. I've been working my whole life to create this planner. And furthermore, if this has inspired you to want to learn Vedic astrology, go to my university. We have live courses every week and a lot of pre-recorded classes. You get a tutor. You will learn Vedic astrology. Go to universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.